Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Go Earn It podcast. And today I get to sit down with my good friend, LEE KEMP. Lee, how are you today?
Things are great. Things are great.
Great. So I just want to start. We're gonna bring back what I like. I used to do this segment called 3-2-1, 3 periods, 2 voices, 1 purpose. That's always the Go Earn It. So it's always gonna relate to Go Earn It. So we're going to split this podcast episode up into 3 segments. And for the first segment, I want to talk a little bit about how you've been with Go Earn It. How's traveling been with Go Earn It and everything so far?
You know, it's been awesome actually, because the reputation of Go Earn It is so good that I just get really, really positive comments, and I think. Of course, the coaches and wrestlers want to talk to me a little bit because of my background in wrestling, but
Right.
but to combine that with a product line that everybody loves
Right.
is a win-win for everybody.
For new listeners out there, Lee, if you could tell the listeners who you are, a little background of LEE KEMP.
Well, my name's Lee Kemp, and I'm kind of, you know, it's hard to talk about yourself. It seems.
Yeah,
weird,
yeah. But it's okay.
But I guess you would say. I mean, I guess I've earned the right to say I'm sort of a legend in the sport. I've achieved some things that not a lot of Americans have, and
Big time.
one of the things that I talk about a lot, people want to hear about, is my match with Gable. I wrestled Dan Gable when I was 18. I graduated from high school a little bit early, so I was 17 when I graduated from high school. Turned 18 my sophomore year. That was 1976. Dan was making a comeback to make the Olympic team. He'd won a gold 4 years earlier, and he was in the Northern Open, so I ended up wrestling him. So I think that's where it kind of all started. To beat a legendary figure like Dan Gable, he was 26 or so, 26 or 27. I was 18, and then it just kind of continued from there. I won 3 national titles in college. I took second as a true freshman and lost in a split referee's decision in overtime, which they don't really do those anymore. They just have criteria that breaks the overtime. I scored the only takedown in the match, and it came down to referees voting for who they thought won, and one referee voted for me, and 2 other referees voted for the other wrestler. It was Chuck Yeagle, by the way. Chuck and I are great friends.
Awesome.
Great wrestler. He had nothing to do with judges making decisions. Chuck wrestled really hard. And he beat me, though, during the year 3 other times. Ooh.
Wow.
So two other times, I guess, was us, yeah. But anyway, he went on to win it the next year, and so did I. Everything is good.
Awesome.
And I won 3 world titles. And my first world title, I was the youngest American to win a world title in 1978.
How old were you?
I was 21.
21 years old.
And that was broken by Kyle Snyder. When he won his first title.
Yeah, I think he was 20, right? Or 19?
He was 19.
19, that's
you can believe
nuts.
That.
That's
That is
crazy.
19. I think it was 2000.
I think it was
16
yeah,
or 15 or something like that.
2016.
And he's young, so he's got a lot more to go.
Yeah, that guy is probably going to wrestle at least 5 more years, compete in the Olympics and everything else. So.
Oh, it's awesome. What Kyle represents for wrestling is amazing. The thing I really like about it is it opens the door for him to monetize and maybe earn some income from some of his success without having to jump into MMA and all that right away.
Right, and he has aspirations.
Yes.
He's talked about it before, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does throughout his career, not only in wrestling but other endeavors and other combat sports.
Oh yeah, he'll smash.
Yeah. It's scary actually to think about. He hasn't even trained MMA, but the training he's done in wrestling, it's such a good foundation for mixed martial arts that transition. You see a lot of college wrestlers, Daniel Cormier,
Aaron
Pico. Yep,
he's a beast.
So, thank you for the little background information for the listeners that don't know who LEE KEMP. Lee's one of the greatest wrestlers of our time. And so, Lee, tell me a little bit how experience goes for you going to these events, helping out Go Earn It, spread the brand and everything. How do you feel about, meeting the new coaches you don't see every day, the wrestlers, the parents? How is that? How do you take all that in?
I really like it because I don't see any other brands doing what Gornet's doing. I mean, Gornet is building the brand from the ground up. I mean, from the grassroots level. They're out at tournaments, out at events, which is hard. I mean,
Yeah,
it's hard. You gotta travel there. You gotta take all the gear there. You gotta set it up, and you gotta hustle while you're there.
Big time.
But you're not just selling to sell. You're actually communicating with people. You're actually developing relationships. People can put a face with the company,
right?
And even like yourself, I think you kind of are sort of the face of the company.
Nah, I wouldn't say that, but
we
talk about that from time to time. It's nice that I've built myself a reputation that people know me as the Go Earn It guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely see past that, and I want people to realize that the brand's bigger than me, than anybody. It's about self-motivating people. It's not really about who's the face or anything. It's about making sure you're making an impact with whoever you talk to. Like for you, when you go out and travel, it's nice that you help out, selling our apparel, but the biggest thing is you get to talk to these kids one-on-one and, make them understand that this sport's important in their life and they need it. Most kids just, when they look into a sport, they're just not taking it at all in for what it really is. And a sport like wrestling, you learn so much about yourself just through your work ethic, how tough you can go through hard times, just a lot of aspects directly translate into life itself. So it's nice getting to meet new people, isn't it?
It's amazing, and the coaches are always eager to talk.
Right.
To me, maybe because
especially in for listeners that don't know, when Lee comes out to events and helps travel for Go Earn It, he also, he has a great book out there. Lee, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Angel. I wrote a book called Winning Gold, and it is a motivational book, and it's made up of 75 messages. Mm-hmm. Short messages, some...
it's not your standard book where you're reading an autobiography, nothing. It's just kind of like your daily... I like to say like a daily reminder book where you open it up, you can scroll through any page, and you'll find one message that sticks out throughout your day, and it could be a theme of your day, which I like. What I like about your book is whether I'm on page 10 or 75, like each message is gonna directly relate to life and success. Exactly.
And that's it started with a blog I was keeping since 2007 of motivational messages, and when I really got motivated to do a book, I thought, what's the easiest way I could do a book? And I thought, well, you've got all these, I had over about 200 messages.
Right.
Condensed it down to 75. And actually had Dan Gable kind of review it. Which
that's
was
awesome.
Which was an honor for me to have him actually look at it and give me a critique. And I actually have a kind of a little endorsement by Dan Gable on the back of the book.
Awesome.
One thing I'll say about Dan, he wouldn't give me any endorsement until he read the whole thing. That's Dan. But that was good. It took him a while because he's a very busy guy.
Yeah.
But at first I thought he didn't want to do it.
Right.
But then the endorsement was just very accurate, very honest. Again, it's not a literary book. It's a book of just for what it is. I'm really proud of the book. It's a great book.
Sure. It's a good book. So
yeah.
When Lee gets to travel for us and goes to these events, he gets to not only meet these kids, but take pictures, let them enjoy the experience of meeting you as an athlete, and get motivated because eventually we bring up Kyle Schneider, everybody's going to surpass whatever the record is, and it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger. And that's the nice part about looking back at history, and you're a big part of that wrestling history. So it's awesome to have you working with us and being able to just be able to show what you've put in. Your work is living longer than the actual years of wrestling, and I'm sure you miss it all the time, but at least this is some other way you can give back to the community, which is awesome. So transition into period 2 out of the 3 periods we got for this podcast. I want to talk a little bit about what you've been up to as far as this year goes. Do you have anything planned? Anything you want to talk about?
I've got a couple projects that I'm working on.
Yeah,
and,
I didn't know if you wanted to speak on what we talked about last week, or if you want to just let that be mention a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I can talk a little
bit about it. Yeah, please do.
Well, there's a couple things. There's one project in particular is a documentary that's being worked on about my life, which is kind of an honor, and it's sort of overwhelming to think that there could be a movie about yourself.
Right.
But it appears like it may happen. There have been some recent events. It seems like it's moving it further along. There's been a lot of footage already shot already. There's been a trailer created.
Yep, I saw the trailer.
Yeah.
It was very, very cool.
Yeah, but when you look at documentaries, though, it's very revealing. When I was talking to the producer and the director along the way we were doing all the shooting and stuff.
Yeah.
They were interviewing me and they were saying, "Well, Lee, we need to dig into your life a little bit deeper." And of course, I didn't want them to dig into my life
open the can of worms.
Because what I found is we all have something that we're not real happy about or proud about in our life, and I've gone through some really hard times.
That's part of life, though.
It is part of life, and it's part of the go earn it thing. You gotta start earning it back.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I felt real comfortable with the director, and as I started to reveal some of this stuff, he said, "Lee, this has got to be in the documentary." I'm like, "Oh no, we can't."
Yeah.
And so when you, the audience, the listening audience, eventually you'll get to see the trailer and you'll know what I'm talking about. But
right.
The movie could take a little bit different turn because now there's a different director now.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of footage shot already.
Yeah.
I'm sure the direction, I'm sure that's going to be in it somewhere.
Sure.
But the shooting started probably back in 2000, maybe
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, at least 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and like my kids are, my Adam was below my chest. Now he wasn't wrestling.
Yeah, Adam's
then.
bigger than you now.
He's bigger than me now.
Yeah.
He's a senior in high school.
Yeah, shout out to Adam.
So we'll definitely need to go back and shoot some more footage.
Yeah, for sure.
Catch up.
But that's cool that they're bringing back to life this project that's just been sitting on ice waiting for
a long
it to.
time. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then the second thing is just something that I'm working on with another producer on a television series. Now I'm not really probably at liberty to talk about it, but that would be pretty cool. If that were to happen, that would be amazing.
That's awesome.
I'd have an integral part in something going forward that could be a major TV show that could be it could be big.
Right. That's awesome. That's good to hear. Well, I'm glad that there's other things that Lee's working on that are under wraps, and hopefully we see something come to fruition pretty soon. So let's go straight into period 3, the last period. Just want to talk a little bit about, sectionals is this weekend. Good luck to all the guys that are competing as far as the Illinois state wrestlers. Good luck to you guys. The path getting to state for anybody, it's hard. That's the easiest way to put it. It's hard. It's not an easy path. And so what I wanted to talk to you about, because you've been at the highest of highest levels of going through the journey of being at the top, what would you recommend a kid that's, say, entering sectionals, thinking about state? What's the most important thing you can shed light on or give a piece of advice on for a wrestler?
The most important thing, and I'll also add that my son is one of those wrestlers that you talked. He's in that group. He's
likewise. My brother is a senior wrestling in sectionals this weekend. Good luck to Chris.
Yep, my son Adam. It's a lot of pressure. I can roll back my mind back when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, it boils down to like 1 or 2 matches, and unfortunately, it creates a lot of pressure around those matches.
Yeah.
So what I tell any athlete, I tell myself that when I have something important to do. I can't worry about the environment. So the athletes, the wrestlers listening to this podcast, you can't worry about the environment. You can't change the environment. You have no input as to what the environment is going to throw at you. you have very little input of zero input is what your opponent's going to throw at you, really.
Right.
The only thing you can control 100% is you. So I tell my son, and again, I tell myself this when I have something important to do, is focus on what my strengths are, do what I know how to do, and I tell myself this whenever I walk out the door and I have something important to do. I say, go be Lee Kemp.
Yeah.
Just go be who I am.
Go be you. Yeah.
Because I can't do anything more than that. When
Right.
I don't think of it that way, I get nervous. I feel like I screw up because I'm worrying about everything else. And back when I was wrestling, I didn't quite have that phrase down, go be Lee Kemp at that time.
Right.
But that's what I did. I focused on the technique that I knew I was good at. I stayed in my positions. I just would not allow myself to be moved out of my positions. So I was fighting more to stay in my positions and to stay where I was good rather than I was fighting the other opponent.
Right.
The other opponent, to me, existed, obviously, but really didn't exist.
Right.
I wasn't competing against some guy who was trying to beat me. I was competing sort of against myself in my discipline to stay in my positions.
Right.
Because then that was easy for me to focus on myself.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on getting my single, because that was what I was really good at. Focus on getting hand control and getting away. Not once did I even think about the other opponent.
Right.
I just thought about me, what I knew how to do. So, again, even with my son, I feel that I'm real close to him, obviously, and so I'm around him every day, and I've been trying to go to practice with him to help him drill at the end and all that. But in life, I'll give this little analogy. It's like certain cultures, when boys especially are getting into that age of adulthood.
Yeah.
And some of the cultures that teach boys how to be self-sufficient, maybe more of the primitive cultures maybe, where you have to live off the land and hunt and all that.
Yeah.
Well, they teach the young boys how to do all those things, but then when they're 16, guess what? They give them the tools, the spear, whatever.
That's up to them.
And they send them off.
Yeah.
And the parents just have to let their child go.
Right.
And hopefully in a few hours you'll see him coming back over the horizon with a lion or a bear or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
That's scary because as a parent you don't want to let go. And I want my son to go to state, but I can't do it for him.
Right.
The athletes that I coach, I want it to work out, but I can't do it for them. I walk down that road and there's a lot of cultures that get to a place where they push their kids off. I'm not familiar with some of those cultures.
Oh, yeah, but for sure.
But I mean, like the Jewish culture, right? Don't they do a certain coming of age for boys
I think
and
so,
girls?
yeah.
Bar mitzvahs, things like that, where it's very important to their culture.
Right.
It's important that they understand their culture.
Or just think basic being in America, when you're 18, that's it. Mom and dad don't have to deal with you.
Some
basically,
parents kick their kids out of the house.
That's what it comes down to. Once you turn 18, the parents don't have to worry about taking care of you. You got to take care of yourself, and for some families, that's the case. Once you're 18, get out of the house.
They say bye. You can come visit.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we've trained you enough that you can figure out how to make a living.
Right.
So that's kind of
piece of advice you can give.
Yes, just concentrate on what you know how to do, and if that's not enough, then that's not the end of the world.
Yeah, and that's what I was just gonna chime in on. It's on the flip side, I had one brother make it to sectionals, and I have twin brothers. Mm-hmm. The other unfortunately didn't, advance to sectionals, so he's very down, and as what any wrestler would be. Sure. It's a tough sport as is, and trying to excel, it's even tougher. So for the kids that, don't fully succeed or reach their goals, it's not the end of the world. That's where you need to learn that wrestling's more valuable because of what you learn versus what you receive. Mm-hmm. It's great to get the medals and the state bracket and all that stuff, but sometimes you're not always going to win it. And that's life, You, like you said earlier, we all go through stuff that we're not proud of, mm-hmm. and we may have regrets and everything else, but it's about how you come back from those losses. Because I'll tell you what, for the kids that are listening, or the wrestlers listening to this podcast, not all of you are going to be a state champ this year. And that's the hard truth. Mm-hmm. Everybody aspires to be one, but there's only one that stands on top of that podium. So the biggest thing you have to take away is no matter what the outcome is, the biggest thing you have to keep in mind is that it's not the end of the world, and that you should be proud of the work you've put in. Because if you truly put in everything you've got and you just come up short, there's nothing you should hang your head on.
Not at all.
And so, Lee, thank you for your time. It's nice always chit-chatting with you. It's nice working with you. I'm glad we've built a little good friendship going.
Absolutely.
It's I'll have you know, it's gonna be coming up in about 3-4 weeks, where a year ago I met you at the Palatine Library and we sat down and recorded our first episode. So
wow.
It's already been a year, so it's great to see how much time's progressed, how much Go Earn It has grown, and how much we've formed a relationship. So, Lee, for listeners out there, where can we find you? Time is yours. Talk about your Instagram, Facebook, anything you want.
You can contact me or learn anything about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
On my website at leekemp.com. Just my name, leekemp.com. I've got
where we can find your book too, right?
Yes.
Your book's on sale on the website as well.
Website,
Yeah,
yes.
for listeners out there, please go check out that book if you'd like to buy one. I'm sure. I don't know if there's any way, but can you request an autographed version? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Whenever Lee's traveling for Go Earn It, he brings his books as well to display, and you can buy one and get one signed, autographed by Lee Kemp. Where can we find you on social media, Lee?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, all those, and you can get to those links directly from my website.
Awesome.
leekemp.com.
Yeah, Lee's been stepping up his Instagram game, so I'm really happy to see him taking more pictures and being more relevant in social media. So that's it for the 3-2-1 episode of the Go Earn It podcast. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Angel.
Take care, guys.